You've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
Oh, my. So, Colin, here we are yet again. Another Halloween has come and gone. The astute viewers will notice lack of Halloween sort of accoutrement going on today. Mm-hmm. Basically, when I was writing this and when I was formulating my list for the whole year, right? This was always on the list. It was one of the first couple that went on there. And I really wanted to attack this as a kind of a spin on a scare, kind of a haunting sort of thing. Because this movie, in a way, has this cursed reputation. It's a legend for better or for worse. It's got kind of this legacy of demise of careers, of series, triggered by events outside of anybody else's control.
Some of my favorite movies happen to be things that kill careers.
Yeah.
That I think were fairly misunderstood at the time, so I'm interested.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where I'm looking into it, and I wanted to just see, cut down on all the set dressing and see, Colin, do you think that it lives up to that sort of legend and thing? Because this is something that I just kind of grew up with and took for granted all my life, right? Really, I just want to kind of jump right on into this.
Okay.
There's not a lot of intro I want to give,
Okay, so you grew up with this, you're saying?
I grew up with the legends about this movie, basically.
Okay, gotcha. Not the movie itself.
Not the movie itself necessarily. I would discover it later on, but yeah.
And do you enjoy this movie, or you want to leave that?
I'll leave that until afterwards.
Okay,
When you open it, you'll see.
Cool. I'm curious then. Especially. Oh yeah. He's in the walls.
Oh, yes.
He is in the walls, and I'm so happy and actually excited to go ahead and watch Austin Powers 3.
Yes.
Goldmember.
Austin Powers in Goldmember.
Yes. For anyone not in the know, because you wouldn't be, because you're not in our lives. After the last one, and I enjoyed it quite a bit more, I told Tony off camera, we have to finish this. And you told me over and over again.
I'll come up with a reason. If I can find a reason to put it on the show again, I'll put it on the show. And when I came up with the idea for this year, this obviously fit.
Yeah. Especially with Mike Myers. This, while I know for a fact, Love Guru, generally speaking, kind of blacklisted him in Hollywood for a bit. This famously just didn't do. I don't know. Did it financially do as well?
We'll get into it. Well, you guys know this kind of song and dance already. Austin Powers as a character was invented or conceived at least for SNL, band and all. This would inform the general structure of the movies going forward, right?
Yeah.
They're basically big extended SNL skits with some story loosely wrapped in there.
Yeah, depending on I would say the film. Because while the vast majority are what you're describing, there are a few films that I think rise above that. Obviously, Mike Myers' other famous work for this is Wayne's World.
Yeah.
This isn't really an SNL movie, but it has the same sort of spirit of it.
Yeah.
The example I always give to people where I'm like, no, your movie doesn't have to be that, is Blues Brothers, which is one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah.
Blues Brothers is a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
And it really does have to do with who you get on board for your project. They got someone like John Landis. You get someone like that on board.
Yeah.
And automatically I feel like your movie has some kind of reverence in him and Dan Aykroyd collaborating on the script. I mean...
Yeah. Once again, we've got this one directed by Jay Roach. It's written by Mike Myers as well as Michael McCullers. We got returning stars, lots of returning stars in the last one. Seth Green, Vern Troyer. We got Mindy Sterling, among others. We got a couple new leads. We have one, Michael Caine. You'll remember him as Alfred and all the Dark Knight stuff. He's Scrooge in the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
And we've also got fucking Beyonce. You'll know her from Destiny's Child as Beyonce, and you'll also know her as Beyonce from Beyonce.
And Beyonce in The Pink Panther, starring Steve Martin.
Oh, right. Deep cuts.
Deep cuts to underrated classics.
We bring the deep cuts.
I am a Pink Panther fan in all contexts.
I've mentioned there's sort of a myth and a legend around like this movie and how it did and its general like how people accepted it in the cultural zeitgeist, right? Do you have any exposure to this movie at all?
So I know Michael Caine, who he's playing. I know the general gist of kind of like what the movie's about. But I do, from like the cultural perception of what I understand about this, is culturally, I think a lot of people were just kind of done with the gag of these movies. So when it finally came out, it was just like, oh, it's a third one.
Yeah.
Like, besides that, and like the film itself, like, I don't know. I also know just like with a lot of these movies, a lot of people grew up with it.
Yeah.
So there's just a general crowd of people who don't have this like bias of like hating it because they were children while it was getting reviewed.
Yeah, you got any hopes or expectations for it?
Just that I'd like it at least as much as the last one, because as you know, this is a completion of a trilogy that we've done on this show. And I was not that much of a fan of the first one. I would like to revisit it though at some point. I really liked the second one a lot.
Yeah, and I ended up liking it a lot more watching it with you,
Yeah.
getting that kind of spirit of like what these movies are kind of about, is getting together with some buddies and fucking watching it, right?
So I will go into this with an open mind, but low expectations.
All right. With all that being said, let's see our return guest off for probably the last time ever. Once again, this is Austin Powers in Goldmember.
Oh, psychedelic, baby.
What? I don't hear him.
I heard something in the walls.
These are new walls. He can't be here.
He defeated evil. He overcame huge obstacles. And he tracked trouble to its source.
Ooh, frisky are we?
This summer, isn't it time for a little Austin Powers? If you see one movie this summer, see Austin Powers. If you see two movies, see Austin Powers again. Austin Powers in Goldmember.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
So Colin, you want to go through the whole song and dance again? You want to give us a quick plot synopsis for Austin Powers in Goldmember?
Austin Powers and Goldmember. Austin Powers is sort of where we last left him, in this sort of static state of stagnant lack of character development. Which is whatever. It's a comedy. And in the process of this, they make an attempt to introduce a little wrench into that situation, where suddenly Austin now has had a father and has daddy issues.
Come on, Dad, stand up and take a bow.
Which in itself could be interesting. His father is kidnapped after not showing up for some award ceremony. There is a few minutes of time travel involved. And this film's like weird fixation on like father figures with Dr. Evil kind of gets brought out. And as the film goes on, a lot of the stuff that they seemingly want to focus on in the plot, as far as like daddy issues coming in, sort of take a back seat and have no real development, as we are then assaulted by a stream of gags and jokes, and the plot is kind of meaningless, which would be one thing if the film was just that. But the problem comes in at these forced moments of false sentimentality.
Austin, are you sure you can trust Dr. Evil?
He ain't heavy. He's my brother, baby. Yeah.
All that being said, though, I didn't hate this. With the first one, I guess I was so upset because after years of having a bunch of people go and tell me that this like is a modern comedic masterpiece and all this kind of stuff, and it belongs up there like among the classics, I go and I finally watch it, and I was just extremely disappointed because it was kind of exactly what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
The second one, for all of its faults, I feel like isn't trying to have this like sentimental message shoved down your throat.
Yeah.
And I will get more into how I think politics do play in to some of this. But where the third one I think has a problem is in a similar fashion to a film like the first one, where it ends with the whole thing of like, oh, counterculture is like a great thing, and we're kind of showing how Austin Powers is dated within his mindset. By having him adopt a more conservative thing of like free love wasn't actually all that great, kind of like fundamentally fucks with his character when he doesn't change ever.
Yeah.
And it makes him like weirdly conservative as far as like a philosophical ending for that movie. And for this, I sort of have a weirdly similar kind of conclusion to it. But I'm not mad, and there's stuff about it I find funny, but there's a bunch of other stuff that I will get into that I don't find funny.
Yeah.
And it's more varied than just the elongated moments of just like letting jokes go on for too long.
And I'm just gonna gauge this real quick with you. I feel like about halfway through this film, roughly whereabouts, it kind of starts to like lose its steam and lose its fucking forward momentum as far as the gags go.
Well, yeah, because it becomes weirdly plot focused.
Yeah, when it wasn't plot focused before,
Yeah.
and when they do shift to the plot, it's kind of like just haphazardly put in there for the sake of like making the joke about how it's so weird that this is all only showing up now.
Yeah.
And I think that just kind of kills its forward momentum. With the first one, I kind of like that they tried to do like a message, right? The people know this. And I feel like they could have gone that direction with Austin Powers as a franchise. They didn't. They went with the direction that they did with number 2, where there's like a story and like a message, but it's so like small and just kind of there that it just sort of lightly holds the whole film together.
Yeah.
And that's, that works for Austin Powers too. It's really good, I think. That like, that gives them the room to like just do the gags and have the bits and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But this one, trying to like kind of halfway between the two like methods, just exacerbates all the problems of both of them, I suppose.
I don't know if the goal by the creatives involved was to go halfway. I think this, if I were to read it, is a bad script. As far as like balancing those two, I thought based off of like the product that these two men, Mike Myers and whatever the guy's name is that turned this out, kind of is a result of just stuff being undercooked, but them being at the height of their careers. Not really getting input on whether or not it was undercooked.
Yeah.
This sort of being the thing that killed Mike Myers' sort of like mainstream career, and then Cat in the Hat was like a similar thing, and then Love Guru was just kind of the final nail and that sort of stuff. I feel like a lot of these men who are involved in this kind of viewed themselves as probably a little bit invincible.
No.
And in that sort of sense, like, I don't know, this whole idea of, like, diminishing returns, I think is interesting as it pertains to when this came out, and sort of, like, the era that these movies were made in, because I think philosophically there is a lot involving, like, capitalistic culture.
No.
I don't want to sound like a fucking pretentious asshole, but, like... I don't know, if I can just get into it. All these movies, generally speaking, want to have like a heart at their core, but I find that to be contrary to how their humor operates.
Yeah.
Because in the decade that it was made in, i.e. the late 90s to the early 2000s, it's all mean-spirited shit, and like I said with the first one, it's a lot of punching down. And this, I think, goes back to that a little more so than The Spy Who Shagged Me. The Spy Who Shagged Me has some stuff with Mini-Me and all this stuff with Fat Bastard.
Yeah. That's
just kind of... It's not that it just doesn't age well or that maybe it's like a little bit offensive to me. It's just not that funny. And I'm looking at this as someone who is watching these for the first time now, even though I've seen clips of them. And it's all because it's humor that's directly just kind of mean-spirited.
Yeah.
At people who are different. And when you try and then pair that with a very sincere message of like love yourself or like, we're all good people, or
just
you can change it. It's not that it just comes off as flat, it just comes off as the movie is very much up its own ass. And I don't want to speak to Mike Myers as a person, because I don't know him, but when you're at like the height of your power right here, it very much feels like you're just kind of smelling your own farts.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming off of depending on how you count it. I was looking into the like box office returns on these sorts of things, and IMDb Pro, the one that the site I usually go to find like box office sort of stuff, they have it looks weird on the papers because it's like usually for films it's like 50-50 international versus national, and for some reason it's like the international returns on The Spy That Shagged Me is like nothing.
The second one?
Yeah, on the foreign ones, it's like, I don't know if it's like a glitch that they got or the like misreporting, or maybe they just didn't like distribute it outside of America very much. But depending on how you count
what you're
it,
saying, is it literally nothing, or
it's like 7% of the movie. So like
the movie could have just done poorly overseas?
Yeah.
Like, and to me, that is like I guess a likely possibility, because like culturally speaking, humor's different everywhere you go. But and even if like the first one did well, it's possible that culturally just the second one didn't connect with audience. Because when did the second one come out?
Second one came out in 1999.
Okay.
And so the point I'm trying to get across is like, one way or another, it was in the top 10, and depending on how you count it, like here in America at least, it was like one of the highest grossing films of that year. And on like a relatively shoestring, but not shoestring, it's like $20 million. But compared to their fucking returns or whatever, when they made like 10 times that much at $300 million or something like that, it's, you make $300 million on a movie like this, and, it's kind of hard not to be a little bit like sure of yourself for the third one, right?
Yes, but that's like where the danger, I guess, kind of lies in. Like, I don't know, like I said, just being up your own ass about like how great your shit is. Yeah. I genuinely think that's been kind of like Mike Myers' biggest problem moving forward from this. And generally speaking as well, it's like, okay, they had two movies where the sense of humor, I would say, was pretty identical. And a third movie that's just kind of doing it again, and it's post 9/11.
Yeah.
And it's all these like things, like, I think just culture changed. And for me, I generally think that it's like, once you move past doing the second one and everything has changed so much, I generally think like it didn't matter how good this movie was, if it kept that sort of same general sense of humor and you weren't really worried about telling much of like a good story, I think people were just going to kind of get bored with it.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah, it's they're kind of just like trying to do the same thing that they've been doing a little
Yeah.
bit. A lot of the problems that irked me in number 2, they're just doing again, and now they're like bigger problems. They're just like pointing at the joke that isn't funny to say that it isn't funny, sort of thing.
But to me, that's been a problem since the first one. So I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of escalated with every movie, and it's possible that maybe you were just noticing it more because it was more abhorrent in the second one.
Yeah. For this one, they tripled their budget. Obviously, they. I think the first one was made on like $20 million. Something. They. In any case, they used a lot more money to make this film, and you can see it. They have celebrity cameos everywhere. They've got fucking.
Yeah. Well, what they use their budget on, I think, is what I find interesting because, like, I've looked into a bit of Jay Roach after we watched the second one.
Okay.
And you look into stuff like that he's made since then. He attempted to make a movie that was sort of commenting on like Me Too culture and was supposed to be very much in the defense of women. And apparently it's just really bad. It's sort of taking like a lot of stories about the internals of like Fox News and news organizations and trying to comment on that. But it uses real life figures mixed in with fictional people. So it kind of ends up coming off as like
a little shit-headed.
Yeah, it doesn't really work all that well. And to me, the thing I guess I get out of Jay Roach is like you have a lot of these guys who get sort of involved in comedy. You know, someone like Todd Phillips, whatever, he did the Hangover movies and then he did the Joker movies. And they consider themselves like, I'm a real artist now. Now, it's one of those things to where what a real artist is, that's subjective. But once again, just people kind of up their own ass about stuff. It's like, okay, you look at this, he spent money on celebrity cameos, he spent money on actors like Michael Caine and Beyonce and all these people. But then if you look at like outside of that opening like gag scene that's very much playing off of Mission Impossible 2, which had come out fairly recently.
Yeah, baby.
I don't think they're paying Tom Cruise a fuck ton. That's probably a favor.
Yeah.
Because he thinks it's funny. But then you look at like the rest of the movie, it looks about as good as the first one. I don't think this is a very attractive looking film. It's fairly flatly shot.
Yeah.
Lots of shot, reverse shot, medium close up, normal close up. It's fairly flat comedy. Now, that being said, it's like, I don't think that would be a problem as much if I found a lot more of this funny. If the joke for Goldmember was that he is Dutch and we hate the Dutch for some reason.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, there's no joke.
I am from Holland. Isn't that weird? Yes.
They use a lot of this extra resources, right? They got like good actors. They've got, for one, Beyonce. They got Beyonce, and for what little she's in there, she's like actually keeping up with Austin Powers, with Mike Myers' like physical comedy thing.
I think she's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, she's a musician playing a character in a movie. I think she's about as good as Ozzy, which is also, once again, fine.
Yeah. And with fucking with Michael Caine, he's good because he's fucking Michael Caine. He's good in things, Yeah. And I think,
but also he doesn't have anything to do.
Yeah, the few times that he does when he's just bouncing off of Mike Myers, it's actually kind of fun. It's actually kind of cool.
All right, my son. I could have had it away with his cracking Judy, my old China.
Are you telling pork pies in a bag of trout? Because if you are feeling quickly, why not just have a J. Arthur?
Well, Billy, no, mates.
Too right, youth.
If they had focused on like developing these characters a little bit and having fun with the interplay between them instead of again Mike Myers is talking to himself.
Which I guess that's another thing. Like, I kind of, before I watched much Mike Myers stuff, had this disdain for him. And over the past couple of years, I'm like, no, I enjoy Mike Myers, but I guess me like perceiving him as having an ego kind of came in was when I watched stuff like this. The whole conceit of having one actor playing multiple characters is fun.
Yeah.
But it's like, regardless of the accent he's doing, he's just playing the same character. over and over and over. All of his characters in these movies are sex perverts.
Yeah.
All of them, like half of them are gross, and most of them are super insecure, trying to hide that behind a veneer of being funny.
Yeah.
Like, and at a certain point, that's just exhausting because you're watching scene after scene after scene after scene of the same jokes being told over and over again.
And that's another thing. It just escalates from the first one. He played 2 characters, and that was, it was a good gag. And in the third one, he plays 3 characters, and that might be wearing thin on some people.
Yeah.
But some people really like Fat Bastard and
Yeah.
his gags. So, it's...
Yeah.
But now he's playing Goldmember, and Goldmember's whole character is that he's nothing. It's just that it's nothing.
This is a keeper. Oh, yes. All right, you're not gonna put that skin in your mouth, are you? You did. Okay.
And that's the gag. They make up shit to make fun of the Dutch for.
Is that like something that like you're assuming, or have you heard that from behind the scenes stuff?
Oh, yeah, no, it's been a couple times. No, there's like a couple places where they're basically like, there's no stereotypes for like Dutch people that they knew of at the time, and so they just made up a bunch of shit, like the flaking skin and this sort of thing.
I think that's then a sign that maybe your character is nothing.
Yeah.
So maybe you should like move on from that. And if your entire thing is built off of stereotypes, once again, I guess this goes into the whole early 2000s like political landscape of what I was talking about, where punching down was super popular, and using stereotypes like it was like a couple decades prior was sort of coming back into chic, as racism was coming back into chic, public racism. And for me, I guess I kind of just look at this and I don't know, it just all comes off as kind of like mean in a way that I'm not really laughing at. Like, I already told you the last movie, for the most part, I was just like, Mini-Me's just kind of like a one-note joke of he's short.
Yeah.
And we're going to treat the adult man like a child, and that in itself just kind of feeds into years and years and years of bigotry. There's like one joke in that movie of his that I found funny, the judo kick thing where he throws him into a fucking wall, and he makes a basketball sound effect as he hits the wall.
Yeah.
But that's like an editing decision, and the fact that it's like a mannequin when it hits the wall. They're just repeating that gag over and over and over again. But at this point, Mini-Me has become like so dehumanized.
Yeah.
And they try and play it into the plot to where it's like, oh, you're being abused, but then he joins the good guys and he's still violently abused by the, air quotes, good guys.
Once again, trying to be moral, but also totally not committing to it.
No, it's not trying to be moral at all. It's a fucking lampshading thing. Like, you just go and try and act as if you're super progressive, but you're also beating the shit out of them at the same time. Like, I don't find that appealing or funny or charming, and it makes me more questioning of the people involved who are writing these jokes. And I guess in that same sort of ballpark, something I find a bit interesting is, you slyly try to, like, under the radar, just be like, let's watch some Pink Panther. Because it sort of fits in the same genre, but I also in the past have brought up to you several times how it feels like, as much as James Bond is an influence and swinger culture is an influence, Peter Sellers and those movies in general are kind of like a huge influence on these. And I've never really seen that acknowledged anywhere. I haven't gone out of my way to look up too many interviews. Maybe I'm wrong. But like the thing that I guess really stood out after just watching the first 2 one of those movies is how like when Peter Sellers is in the Pink Panther movies, not just him, but like all these characters, the characters are kind of all like about making themselves look like morons.
Yeah.
Goodness, it's a bit stuffy in here.
Your coat!
Yes, it is my coat.
But it's on fire!
What?
Huh?
And as a result, it's like any kind of slapstick or physical pain isn't brought on to like another character in particular. There aren't punching bags because the characters are beating the shit out of themselves.
Yeah, themselves and the general environment around them.
Yeah. So that in itself has like a, I don't know, just a generally like a better spirit to it, to it than me. And that just kind of goes and then reverses like, okay, well the 60s were a pretty fucked time for society. But then if you're going and like reversing that, and it's like, okay, well, what does that say about the late 90s and early 2000s?
Yeah.
If the only joke we can make is downplaying someone else's existence.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that just kind of is a bit odd.
Yeah. There's good things about this movie.
Yeah.
You know, really quick, Tony's music hour. I just want to...
Tony's musical hour.
No, just real quick. I just, like, in the same vein that, you know, if they had a theme and they stuck with it and actually tried to do that sort of thing, they made a whole fucking song about this. We got a new Ming T song, which is fucking great. I love that song a lot. And, you know, they have a longer version of it, like, available
No,
online.
I've heard that song before this movie came out. And like, I get what you're saying. Like, the music itself is great.
Yeah.
But sort of like Mike Myers' humor, everything in the lyrics is the most obvious version of what they're trying to convey.
Yeah.
And I guess you could find that funny. I just think it's kind of lazy.
Yeah, no, if it were just like you know, rolling into the actual plot of the film and that was the direction they were going, then it would totally carry that energy over. I really fucking like that.
Yeah.
I like it. It's you know, it's got like the 60s vibes to it. It's got like sort of the same chord progressions and some like the same sort of bass tone, but then it's also got this 2000s era like electric guitar sound, kind of like an Avril Lavigne. Yeah, it's like that sort of guitar tone, which I really, really like. You know, just to give a little props where it's due, but you know, they just don't decide to do anything with it, which why bother making a whole ass song, you know?
Thematically, if you want to like, I guess establish Austin having like daddy issues beyond like, I guess gesturing to it and actually have like an interesting thing to say.
No.
Then like put that in your script.
Yeah.
I guess like to me the whole conceit of like the Ming T song that you're talking about, where the lyrics are very literally ostensibly saying, "Daddy, I'm sad. Daddy, I'm this. Da 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 da. Why weren't you ever here?" Okay. In like a similar way to like that Taylor Swift album that just came out, The Life of a Showgirl, whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
To where she has like that one song that everyone I've heard just making fun of it, to where she's basically just being like, yeah, I'm a bad bitch. Yeah, I'm on the internet. Trolls are rude. That's not how you write music. That's stupid.
The only difference is that she's trying to be 100% serious, whereas this is a gag song by a gag, by a parody, not even a parody, just a fun group, I guess. A lot of people want to blame other shit for why this is the end of an era of fucking films, end of an era for Mike Myers, obviously, the beginning of the downturn of his whole fucking career, you know, and you could really argue anything about that, because they keep mentioning any day now an Austin Powers 4 could happen. You know, he has a canned line now, Myers does, where he says, "I will neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of any material," something like that.
Yeah.
That he gives whenever someone asks about Austin Powers 4. And you know, he's not like his career completely ended. He's like a voice actor for Shrek, you know. Which is fucking not to be told. It's, you know, it's whatever. It is what it is.
His career did not end. He worked, and also he had a fuck ton of money. He's fine.
Yeah.
It's not that people were talking about. I think more so people were talking about his status as an A-lister.
Yeah.
That got poisoned in the water long time ago. And when people want to talk about like the Love Guru and all that kind of shit, which has all the problems with this, plus Mike Myers is offensive as fuck in it. You know, for a bit, I'm like, it's fine to have some like offensive shit. And it's fine to do all this. And I haven't really been talking all that positively about the movie, but I think it's just because I don't really feel anything about it one way or the other. And I kind of just look at this as the relic that it is, and I'm not sitting here being like upset about it, but I'm just kind of sitting here being like, you could have done better. There's no real jokes here. It's just a lot of like people insulting each other And at a certain point, I don't know, I just get really kind of sick of like the negativity. And with the world we're living in right now, in the year of our Lord 2025, living in America, I'm really fucking sick of it. I'm really sick of people just being so vitriolically shitty towards other people.
No.
I would prefer to watch something like Some Like It Hot or The Apartment or any of the Pink Panther movies starring Peter Sellers. Because they're just kind of like silly, and I don't feel like I'm having like the general zeitgeist just bled into my ears for the like next hour and a half.
Yeah, so I guess I wanted to get into like what really caused the end of all this sort of stuff. Like, obviously, I didn't want to poison the water to begin with by making it a whole gag with, you know, oh, the curse is back, Austin Powers is back.
Yeah.
That's why everything's all spooky. That's why I kind of wanted to skip over it, because I was surprised with the second one that I had a whole lot more fun with it, watching it with you and that sort of thing. So I wanted it to go in. I wanted to go in and give you the best chance at it, and just kind of allude to, hey, there's a big thing with this movie, right?
Yeah.
Lots of people have lots of reasons to blame for why this movie failed. First and foremost, you kind of brought it up earlier. This is a post 9/11 film, and people generally believe that, for whatever reason, that sort of thing is why it failed, which I don't think is the case.
I think it's a contributing factor.
Yeah, it could be. But it's one of those things where, first off, there's people, like, the legend that I grew up with is that it was meant to come out around when 9/11 happened, and it had to be drawn back, basically. It had to be delayed. And that is just factually incorrect. The whole point, one of the gags for when these movies releases is that they come out the same day, or like around the same day that a James Bond movie comes out, right? And that just kind of became a tradition with them. It was always going to come out 2002 when the James Bond movie came out. Die Another Day, I think, is the one that it congruently came out with, right? So it's not that it got delayed. Some people think that sort of thing led to them pulling punches and like cutting offensive content, which is also just patently incorrect.
No, and granted, we are watching this like 20 years later, where this has like, I guess we are a tad more sensitive to that sort of stuff than I guess people would have been back then. But to me, it's like, this is patently more offensive than the last movie.
No, they thought that there was specific content about specific groups that was cut because of the tragedy, and that is, once again, just not correct. That's just like playground bullshit that I've lived with since I've known about this fucking movie, basically.
Here's my thing, I guess. Why... Like, I think 9/11 could possibly have to do this, and it's not because of the reason you're talking about. This is, I guess, the cultural shift sort of thing.
Yeah.
Pre-9/11, America was in what I've referred to like a philosophical mindset, and it wasn't just America. It was a global thing for like a lot of places. I've brought this up on the show before. This whole idea of the end of history, where it's like we're in the end of the 90s. We are reaching towards the 21st century. Ostensibly, the mindset for a few people was we fixed everything.
Yeah.
Racism, bigotry, blah. It's ridiculous, obviously, because like it's ignoring this idea of systemic.
Ignoring all the problems that were still going on.
But it was like this whole thing to where like as a civilization, America has like peaked.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And 9/11 was kind of just this wake-up call that was not true. You know, stuff not only can still go wrong, but we could be the direct targets of it.
Yeah.
And with that, like, you just kind of gained a sense of cynicism in a similar way that, like, Vietnam did for the 60s. And, like, the civil rights movement being in front of people's faces and then them unable to ignore it. This happens every 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, this is just a normal fucking thing.
Yeah.
Cough, cough. But the whole thing with this to me is like, okay, post 9/11, especially if you look at like comedies coming out around the time, this is like not politically minded at all. It's a dumb, silly comedy that, like I said, is just a bit mean-spirited, too mean-spirited for my taste.
Yeah. No.
Then you look at the guys who got popular during this era, who did Bush-era comedies. Adam McKay did stuff like Anchorman. Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
In like old school, all these movies were sort of commenting on the Bush-era consumerism that was happening in a post 9/11 landscape, and that's what America responded to, for the right and the wrong reasons. The right reasons for some people being like, oh my god, this is refreshing to see like idiots portrayed on screen as they are, and the idiots themselves that were being made fun of, just that's funny.
It's one of those things where it's not. The other legend is that, like, 9/11 happened and people just couldn't take things like silly jokes and silly movies and, like, run with them anymore. That it had kind of killed that sort of comedy for quite a long time. But
for a bit it did, though.
Yeah, I guess so. But, like, a lot of other movies that kind of filled the same sort of role would move on and they would still come out.
Yeah,
and
they would come out, but they're not the same. This is what I guess I'm trying to say. Is like silly movies like Talladega Nights and stuff like that, like they still had like this political undertoned edge to it.
Yeah.
And then give it another 10 or so years after that, the studio comedy, as it was, is basically fucking dead. You know, streaming killed it, but I think that did start because of 9/11, and not in this way of like, oh, we're being censored or anything like that.
Yeah.
But in a much kind of different, like, I think culturally, like, it's just hard to move on from that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that's the reason this bombed. I
Yeah.
think it bombed because it's not great.
Yeah, that's... It's like, yeah, it's that. And here's the problem, though, about this movie. By technicality, it didn't really bomb at all.
But okay.
As far as cultural fucking whatever, I looked into it. The way that people would say it way back in the day, this is like one of the worst movies ever sort of deals. Like people so greatly despised it that it was like legendarily bad. But when you look at reviews for the time and when you look at reviews like just overall, first off, the critical reviews basically didn't change. You know, people like Ebert basically said like, oh yeah, it's more funny, whatever. The critics were basically on that sort of scale. And with the first two movies, they're the people who really, really liked it, and they said, oh, you know, it's really funny, whatever. For this one, the only thing that happened is some of those guys fell off, and the general ratings went a little bit down. It didn't plummet like all the way down to
But they spent more money on it, is the thing. If there's less of a return from the last movie, which they made, which they spent less on, and keep in mind, the marketing budget for a movie, especially a big one like this, is the budget cut in half.
Yeah.
So it may not have like financially bombed as you're perceiving, but like the actual profitability and the way Hollywood bankings work and the way leases work, it's a different thing.
This one made 6 times its return, whereas the one before it made like 10 times.
Yeah, so that's a financial failure as far as the studio is concerned.
Yeah, I guess so. But it still made money. I don't think it would have been impossible to keep the series going from here. It's just, I think it all really comes down to that point we've been dancing around and bringing up over and over again, is that this one's just kind of where it lost its steam and sort of didn't do as well as the first ones.
Well, yes, but like, I guess I'm trying to say like the reasoning behind that is like there's factors that go into this that isn't just like 9/11. If people are like, well, why wasn't there another one? You know, that's what killed it. The way studios work is even if they spend more money, they expect a higher return on investment with every project that comes out. You know, famously, a movie like Last Jedi makes over $1 billion.
Yeah.
But that being said, that movie by Disney was considered a bit of a financial disappointment. Which is ridiculous.
Because it made $1 billion.
Yeah, no, but it's like one of those things to where like just like corporate executives expecting consistently on their companies that line goes up every year, regardless of like the context of how that doesn't make sense. Like films to these people are just a business.
Yeah.
So I think they recognize that even if it made 6 times its budget back, this was going to be a continuing trend. If they made another one, there wasn't going to be something that could like fix this.
Yeah.
As opposed to something like back in like the 70s, where sequels after sequels after sequels for stuff like James Bond or anything like that were just kind of made. Like I showed you that one movie for prep for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Wrecking Crew. That was the 4th Dean Martin spy movie.
Yeah.
Like, and yes, no, there was not another one after that. But those movies, it's like they were quick, easy, and cheap. And this follows kind of the trend of the time that still is a problem to this day of like something is successful, we'll just give it more money.
Yeah.
When to me, that's not
always helpful.
It's most of the time it's like never helpful. Like giving them a bit more money to have some like wiggle room or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like to me, like I said, a better script, which is the only money part of that is the time it would take. But they also had a lot more time.
Oh yeah.
To fucking write this. I just like I don't know. Like I said, I think a lot of the contributing factor is just Mike Myers thinking he's God.
Yeah.
And thinking I can write whatever and people will... I don't think it's as cynical as people will eat this shit up. But I do think it does come down to people think I'm funny.
And then just going ahead and doing basically the same shit again.
Yeah.
Only now you're falling into the same problems that you had, but more because you're taking fewer hints from so on and so forth. Yeah.
And I'm sure you make like a fuck ton of money off that second one. Any criticisms that people give you, you're just going to view them as like, oh, they just don't get it. I have a fan base.
Yeah.
Which I think is such a fucking awful mindset to take. To like not listen to like other people's like valid criticisms about something and maybe try and improve on that. Instead to exclusively listen to your fans because the fans will eventually sour.
Yeah.
That's how this fucking shit works.
Yeah.
You can't be successful forever off of a repeating formula.
And yeah, no, it's just one of those things where, you know, eventually Austin Powers would have to slow down and stop and die somewhere along the lines. At the 3rd one, at the 4th one, at the 5th one, whatever. But I think it's ultimately that it just was a bad movie. Or maybe not even bad, just subpar.
I mean, this conversation has made me kind of go down on it as we're talking. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think as someone who doesn't like the first one, I think those two are about.
I would say fundamentally, I think this is the worst of the 3 Austin Powers.
What do you mean by fundamentally?
I guess that's
there's
I guess
no
that's really
objectivity
good.
to this.
Yeah, I guess it's not really a good.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
This is like the weakest of the Austin Powers movies.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fairly big jump from Goldmember to the original. That's just me personally, and it's one of those things. It kind of just felt inevitable the way that things were going. Maybe, you know, maybe there's a world where they got a different writer in. Maybe there's a world where or Mike Myers kind of stepped away from writing and let somebody else just fucking write it.
I don't think, because I think he is a part of the sauce here.
Yeah.
But I feel like even when he collaborates with like one other person, I don't know if it's a more like a situation of like different or more cooks in the kitchen would have helped. Or he just kind of reached his cultural zenith with what he had to do with the character. And maybe just kind of letting something go isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you recognize the thing has run its course and you can just leave from that. Now, that being said, I know Jay Roach's career, I'm sure he's done stuff since then.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Hollywood is so based off of like luck and just doing the right thing at the right time.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things to where you just kind of have to wonder, like, okay, how much of that is like a legitimate, like, huge amount of talent, and how much of that is like you getting with the right projects.
Yeah.
Because to me, this is nothing against Jay Roach, but like to me, his filmmaking style isn't that like
distinct or like whatever.
Yeah, and it just kind of is shot like a flat comedy, but it has like bright, high contrast colors and everything. But I once again just look at the comedies of the era. Most comedies had like high contrast colors and looked like that, and were fairly flatly shot. I don't know. I don't have that. Also, this movie, unless I'm remembering correctly, this is like a small thing. Did this have like the flowery transitions?
The flowery transitions? No, not really. Not anymore.
You see, out of all the things to like cut out, that's odd. That's really
the
odd to
first
me.
one has tons of them where they
Yeah.
cut to the band and back, which is
Yeah.
always lots of fun.
Second one also had tons of them.
Yeah, or at least more than this one did.
Yeah.
I think they had a couple for like the opening bit, which
Yeah.
is the big celebration of hey,
Yeah.
we're back, what's up, fuckers?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think all of this really comes down to one last question I have for you about this series. They hint at it all the time. Mike Myers, like I said, he's got a canned response for this sort of thing. Do you think there would ever be a reason to bring back Austin Powers for a fourth one? And, should it happen? Would you want it to happen? Would you want anything out of it in specific?
To get into this, I need to, I guess, address to the audience for any possible first-time viewers or people who haven't heard me rant about this. I am so sick of IP-based and franchise and capital-based filmmaking.
Yeah.
So, yet another legacy, nostalgia-baiting sequel to a comedy that I really only like one of.
Yeah.
And more realistically, it would probably be a digitally shot streaming movie.
Yeah.
Because that's where Mike Myers has made any of his more recent movies. He had a Netflix show recently that everyone hated. No, not really. I don't know. Because when we lack stuff like a monoculture, have I explained this to you before?
I don't think you've explained it on the show.
Okay, the monoculture is basically like, before the internet was such a huge, widely spread thing, people had like water cooler conversations around like what movies or TV.
Yeah, and there was like...
And music and all this kind of stuff. There was a general consensus of like, oh, of course, everyone listened to this one thing, or everyone watched this one thing, or a bunch of people sort of did. The internet, with its individualistic algorithms and everyone being catered to one by one, has kind of eviscerated that.
Yeah.
And the fact that social media puts you in your own little bubbles of that kind of stuff. And then the staying power of stuff that does get popular on streaming is like a week. So specifically like Netflix, where they release stuff like all at once.
Yeah.
Like people watch it in one day on their days off of work, and then they're just kind of done with it, and then they move on. It's resulted in a lot of really disposable culture. So if another Austin Powers movie were to come out, even if it wasn't straight to streaming, I really don't think it would leave that much of a cultural footprint.
Yeah.
And it would be probably really reliant on old gags. So making something like a sequel to something that was meant to be super fresh at the time and just have it being like recycled fart air. If anything, I think it would just be kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because, like, once again, not here to shit on him. Like, Mike Myers right now, especially with that, like, fucking shaved head look he had, like, a year ago. Mike Myers looks good for his age. But him getting back in this outfit, I don't know. It just, to me, would kind of come off as, like, desperate. And I'm not really into that or down. Just make new shit. I have zero desire, and I don't think it would do well. And I guess to, like, kind of wrap that up, saying it wouldn't do well, it's also one of those things, I think the biggest perpetrator of bad legacy sequels do come from comedies. Happy Gilmore 2 was released a few months ago. No one fucking talks about it. They didn't talk about when it came out because it was released straight to Netflix. And also, it was just an ugly, digitally shot movie, and it wasn't an old school Adam Sandler movie like the original one was, which people have a lot of nostalgia for. No. It looks exactly like all of his fucking modern shit. I'm gonna get a bunch of my friends, like actor friends, together. We're gonna go to a nice sunny resort location. Yeah. And I'm gonna hire a bunch of like new modern people that people will recognize. And we're just gonna shoot on these digital cameras with overcast skies, and the movie's gonna look ugly and gray and stupid. Yeah. And that's nothing on Adam Sandler. You make your bucks king. I don't give a shit. I just don't like him. That's fine though.
Whatever. Yeah. It would just be strange to try and make what succeeded way back when just work again in a modern era. You're just ignoring the fact that things have changed, that the world has changed, that the joke is kind of tired, I guess.
Yeah.
And that, people have just sort of moved on from, once again, like you said, punching down sort of humor. It's just surrounded people and irony poisoned everybody and everything to the point where it's like, yeah, no, maybe it's a good thing that Austin Powers kind of died, because where else would they have gone if not something completely fucking different, which people would have bitched about. Let's be real. If they made a new Austin Powers and they did like a full, like,
They made Austin Powers woke.
or if they even just like pulled a James Bond like era transfer from like whatever, like making things vastly different and telling different kinds of stories and using different kinds of humor, people would, they would bitch. And people who don't really know or care about the series wouldn't come to see it because it's not in their bubble.
Well, and this is such a series grounded in its own identity. At that point, it's like you're making Austin Powers not a thing powered by one person, which is what made people like it in the first place with Mike Myers, but you've turned it into a brand. You have turned it into an IP.
That references itself apparently into its own death.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's for the best that it's done, and maybe it would be for the best that it just stay done forever. All in all, I'm glad that we've had Austin Powers on the show, and I'm glad that we did this, but, it's time for us to say goodbye to our old friend Mike Myers, possibly forever.
And I'm happy Austin Powers is not here haunting us to this very... Austin, put the gun down. Austin.
Yeah, baby, yeah.